A lot of players might think that this deck is all fluff, but put in the right hands, it can be a frightening experience. Soul Fusion gave this deck Frightfur Patchwork, which is a very furious card that allows the deck to not only get through its combo pieces more consistently, but OTK your opponent before they even know what's happening. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go and destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, go ahead and hit that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. Also want to give a special thanks to every single one of my Patreons. Without you guys, videos like this would not be possible. I really do appreciate your continued support. Without further ado, I present to you a competitive Fluffal deck profile for this format. So before we get into the Fluffal deck profile, let's talk about those Fluffal stats. I think that Fluffal can consistently top or win your local level event, but I would not be surprised if it were to win or top a couple of regionals here and there. Why? Because the deck is really fast. It's a good going second deck. You can OTK your opponent relatively easy, and it does have cards to break your opponent's board. Ultimately, I do think that Fluffal was a little more expensive. If you guys are going to the competitive route, you're probably better off playing other decks, but still, nonetheless, if you're a Fluffal enthusiast, this deck is awesome. And don't worry, for the players that really want to play Fluffal, I do have some budget options that can significantly shave the cost of this deck, so you guys can still play it at whatever event you so choose. Starting off with the monsters, we run 3 copies of Fluffal Dog. Now this guy is pretty important to the deck. When he is normal summoned or special summoned, you can add 1 Fluffal or Edge Imp Saber monsters from your deck to your hand. One thing I would like to note is that anytime you can add an Edge Imp monster that is not Edge Imp Sabers from your deck to your hand, you might want to use it because a lot of cards in this deck are restrictive to just adding Edge Imp Sabers, so keep in mind about that. He's probably your only normal summon to the deck, and he's still pretty good because he's almost a reinforcement of the army for the rest of the monsters inside of your deck. Next is 2 copies of Fluffal Penguin. He does have a on-field effect. You're not going to really gain as much because he's not your priority normal summon, but he allows you to summon a Fluffal monster to your side of the field once per turn. His best effect is that when he's used a fusion summon, you can draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. So essentially, it is a graceful charity, kinda, sorta, allowing you to dig deeper into your deck and get those combo pieces that you need. Next is 2 copies of Fluffal Bear. This card is really important. I didn't run 3 copies because I didn't think it was necessary. There's so many ways to search your Fluffal monsters, and then always opening them are a good thing. But essentially, this card allows you to discard it to set Toy Vendor to your side of the field, and Toy Vendor is one of the centerpieces to your deck. You follow that up with 2 copies of Fluffal Wings. Now, the draw engine between Fluffal Bear, Fluffal Wings, and Toy Vendor is insane. You'll be able to draw 2 cards and search a Fluffal monster from your deck to your hand. In the process, Fluffal Wings allows you to banish itself and a Fluffal monster to draw a card, then send Toy Vendor to the graveyard to draw another card, and since Toy Vendor was sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to search a monster. So that's pretty much the biggest combo that Fluffal does have going on for itself, being able to get that out consistently, get as many cards to the hand as possible, and then fusion summon a plethora of monsters to your side of the field to OTK your opponent. 1 copy of Fluffal Owl. He's really good because he's the polymerization searcher, but another good thing is that he can actually fusion summon monsters on your side of the field. I think more than 1 is a waste because you're not really going to use those effects too often, but there are times where you do need to search that polymerization or you do need that extra fusion monster. Next is 3 copies of Edge Imp Chain. This card has become more important to the Fluffal strategy, mainly because when it's sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Frightfur card called Frightfur Patchwork from your deck to your hand, which is essential for being able to get off all of your combos. 1 copy of Edge Imp Sabers. You only need 1. Its effect to recur itself back to the side of the field is also pretty good, allowing you to fusion summon more monsters to your side of the field that require Edge Imp Sabers. That's it for the Fluffal and Edge Imp monsters that I run. I run quite a few hand traps, 6 to be exact. 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. It's really good against stopping Summon Sorceress and a couple of other cards, Firewall Dragon, but you really want to use it on the Summon Sorceress. 2 copies of Ash Blossom. It's probably taken its reign back as the best hand trap in the deck because of Thunder Dragon. It's really powerful against them. And then 2 copy of Effect Veiler. Now, Effect Veiler I ran because it's a light target. I think that it's really well. If you guys can't afford the Ash Blossoms, go ahead and place any hand traps. Literally any hand traps to help stop your opponent, whether it's DD Crow, Skullmeister, it does not matter. You need hand traps. This is a going second deck, and being able to disrupt your opponent is really, really important. For the spells, we run 3 copies of Toy Vendor. This card is, I tried running it at 2, but it's a card that you don't necessarily want to have in your hand unless you have the Fluffal combo, sending wings to your graveyard, then banishing a Fluffal monster to draw the cards, because its hand effect or its field effect, to discard 1 card to draw a card, is mediocre. Unless you are drawing a Fluffal monster or can guarantee that it's a Fluffal monster you're going to draw, it's not good whatsoever. But its graveyard effect, when it's into the graveyard, to add a Fluffal monster and edge him sabers from your deck to your hand is really important. There's so many ways to get this card to the graveyard. It's almost mandatory to play 3. Again, I tried playing 2 and it didn't work out. 3 copies of Polymerization. I think that anything less than 3 inside of this deck is a crime to the deck, mainly because you do need it to start fusing off with your plays. You need it to get your combos off. And then we actually play a 4th Polymerization inside of Invocation. What some players don't seem to realize is that Invocation actually fusion summons like a normal fusion card. But if you guys so happen to play Alester, the Invoker of Madness, you can make a Macabre or a Paraga Trio with ease, and that's just a free card to put into your hand. Next is 2 copies of Frightfur Patchwork. Only 2 copies. I felt that you didn't need 3, mainly because Frightfur Patchwork is a hard once per turn, so opening 2 copies of this card isn't optimal. And the next thing is that it's very searchable through your Edge Imp Chain monster. Next is 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. This card can send the Toy Vendor from your deck to your graveyard, which will give you a free search, starting off your combos. 2 copies of Called by the Grave to disrupt my opponent's hand traps. 1 copy of Frightfur Fusion. I thought that I would play more copies of this card, but it's normally just a game-ending card. You send it off a chain, gain Chain's effect, activate Frightfur Fusion, summon a huge Frightfur monster, and then finish off your opponent. Instant Fusion can trigger not only your Alester Invoker of Madness, but as well as if you play Thousand Eyes or Strict Strat, snatch an opponent's monster to give you some advantage. Next, the next 6 cards I'm going to show you guys are completely optional. I think that they're really good, so if you have them lying around, or if you already play the deck and just wanted to try something new, it's really good. So I ran 3 copies of Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. This is a going second deck, and the ease of putting 3 spell cards in your graveyard with this deck is just, it's very easy. It's like stupid easy to put 3 spell cards and start drawing off the Engage and then setting up your play. Sky Striker Mecha Hornet Drones not only can make your Alester Invoker of Madness for free, but it can also basically put monsters, link monsters on your side of the field to get off your combos. It's very free. 1 copy of Widow Anchor. This card's really good in this format, mainly because it can snatch an opponent's Thunder Dragon Colossus or even negate it, so you can start off with your search combos, and then it can snatch a monster if you put 3 spell cards in your graveyard. This deck is half spells, half monsters, so it's like very easy. And then lastly is 1 copy of Sky Striker Maneuver Afterburner, just a free disruption card. You guys could play the Widow Anchor if you would like to. I think maybe 2 Widow Anchor and no Afterburners might just be flat out better than the 3 of these cards, mainly because Widow Anchor is just really powerful right now and can chain itself to snatch 2 of your opponent's monsters to give you a good board. Now, for the people that can't necessarily afford the Sky Striker Mobilize Engage or the Sky Striker package, I still think you guys should consider playing 1 Hornet Drones, but you guys can actually just cut these guys out for more extenders. Fluffal Cat is a really good card that I just excluded from the deck. It was actually a 41 card deck. Another Instant Fusion, Monster Reborn, World Legacy Succession. Those cards are not bad. I just excluded them because I know that this deck was going second and I needed a way to break my opponent's board. Or even so, one thing that I really wanted to do was play more hand traps. So if you guys have access to more hand traps, go ahead and play them. This isn't the end-all be-all to the deck, and there's actually a Brilliant Fusion route. Going ahead and play your 3 Brilliant Fusion, your Gemini Garnet, because Seraphonite does get you an extra normal summon, and focusing on popping off with your effects of Fluffal Dog and getting free link monsters to your side of the board is really good. But that's it for the main board. Let me show you guys the extra deck. Boral Sword Dragon. This card is just really good for finish off the opponent when you need to. You don't make link 4s as fast as other decks, but it's still a really good card to have. Nightmare Unicorn is probably the best link 3 in the game just right now because it gives you disruption to your opponent's cards. Alester, the Invoker of Madness. I feel that all builds should play this card no matter what, mainly because it's a free polymerization from your deck to your hand, and if you do play the invoked monsters, it's a free of that too. Land Fornic is just your generic link too, and then Sky Striker, Ace Kagari, and Hayate. You're not going to make Hayate all the time, but sometimes you do need to turn your Kagari into a Hayate to have a link arrow pointing down, in case your opponent, you know, Effect Veilers or Effect Veilers or Impermanence is your Kagari. It's just really good, and this also also puts monsters in your graveyard or monsters on the field with different types and attributes for your Fluffal monsters to make your Alistair Invoker with ease, even if you don't get the Hornet drones back. Next is Frightful Wolf. This is a game-ending monster. You summon him, he can attack as many times as the monster you use for fusion summon. One card that I felt that I might play more copies of is Frightfur Sabertooth, but games don't last long enough for this card to be really viable. One copy of Frightfur Kraken it gets things on and cracking. It's a really good card at just sending cards from the field to the graveyard. 2 copies of Frightfur Tiger. This deck is again built to disrupt OTK, win as fast as possible, and this card gives you enough destruction to do so. Frightfur Cheat is not only your instant fusion target, but it's a really good card. It's like stupid good. It's Armada's Keeper of the Armageddon for the people that have played Yu-Gi-Oh long enough. But your opponent can activate card effects when he battles, so he stops a lot of good cards in the meta right now. 1 copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict for disruption and your next instant fusion target. And then the invoked monsters. Makaba is normally a monster you can make after you've Ogre or you Ash Blossom your opponent, or if you have a Dead Wings in your graveyard. And Paragon Trio is a monster you can always make after you use your Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. That's it for the main board and the extra deck. Now let me show you guys some test hands so you can get better acclimated to the deck. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so let's start off with our first test hand. If I can't OTK my opponent, I can definitely disrupt their board and put myself in a position to put myself in a position to OTK them the next turn. Starting off with our hand, Effect Veiler, Fluffal Penguin, Foolish Burial Goods, a Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, Frightful Fusion, and a Fluffal Wings. We actually have 2 disruptions, so we're in a pretty good spot. I'm just going to go ahead and put them in the graveyard just to signify that we used them. And then I'm going to go ahead and start off with Foolish Burial Goods. Now, Goods is going to send Toy Vendor from the deck to the graveyard. That's going to add Fluffal Bear to my hand. And then Bear's effect is going to go to the graveyard to set Toy Vendor. Now, this would be a perfect time to have drawn Sky Striker Mobilize Engage because, again, that's just a really good position. And I'm not sure what I could be doing to get a better outcome right now. But we're going to be able to draw some cards. We're going to activate Toy Vendor, sending the Fluffal Wings to the graveyard, drawing Invocation, and sending that to the graveyard. That actually gives us quite a few spell cards in the graveyard, activating Fluffal Wings and Fluffal Bear, or Fluffal Wings to banish Fluffal Bear, to draw a card. We're going to send Toy Vendor to draw another card. Then we're going to activate Toy Vendor to add a card from our deck to our hand. And we still have a normal summon. That's like, that's pretty good. We will add from our decks to our hand. Part of me wants to add Fluffal out. Yeah. We're going to add Fluffal out. I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. Normal summon Fluffal out. Use this effect to search depolymerization. And then we're going to polymerize. I really wish I could put another monster on the board so I can make a Link monster, because I can fusion summon twice. But I'm not seeing it right now. So, polymerization into oh wow, that's the wrong one actually. We're gonna just use these 2 monsters for you. We're gonna use those 2 monsters for the Frightfur sheet. And then Edge of Chains effect is going to activate. I'm going to get Frightfur Patchwork. Now we're going to activate Patchwork. That's going to get us the polymerization and the sabers from our deck to our hand. Then we're going to polymerize these monsters. Use that to summon our Frightfur Sabertooth. That's going to special summon a Frightfur monster to our side of the field. And we're going to be able to draw 2 cards and discard 1 card. Ooh, that is a pretty good proposition right now. That's a really good proposition right now. I would do it. We're going to have to discard 1 card. I'm just going to go ahead and discard the after the edge up. And then let's just risk it for the biscuit. Let's say we can actually, no, we can do something. So we're going to use these 2 monsters for a Link summon. into our land Fornicus. Then we're going to activate Engage. Engage to search Mecha Hornet drones. Draw a card. Ooh, we drew Fluffal Wings. That's not bad. Hornet drones. Use these monsters for Link Summon. Whoa. Sorry, use this for a Link Summon. Into Kagari's effect, add the Hornet drones back. And as you guys can see, I'm just getting a lot of board presence. I'm getting basically everything that I need. What I'm trying to do, I just realized I can't make it because it requires 3 effect monsters, and Land Fornicus is not an effect monster. But I was actually going to finish off with the Boral Sword Dragon and a big fusion monster, which would almost guarantee me game no matter what. I still think I can make some pretty insane boards. So, actually, let me add the Engage again. I'm going to use these 2 monsters for a Link Summon. For the Nightmare Unicorn to discard the Wings to disrupt my opponent again. Mobilize Engage. For the Widow Anchor. So I have multiple ways to disrupt my opponent now. I can actually, hypothetically, I could be able to wipe the rest of their board with Afterburners and Widow Anchor. And then all I have to do is activate Frightfur Fusion, considering that they have no monsters on the board, to summon Frightfur Wolf, which would be game. Like, or even just summon a Frightfur Tiger, which is just really good disruption. All of that happened over just that turn, going second. This deck has, like I said, really good consistency, the ability to make some insane boards. I actually would have made the Alistair the Invoker, but I already put Invocation in the ground. Let's show you guys another test hand, just how fluid this deck runs. Alright, so let's hope we get something as good. I felt that was a really good hand because, again, we have to focus that this deck is going to keep disrupting the opponent. It's going to get us exactly what I want. Granted, we won't have a full U-Link or, 5-6 monsters on the board, excuse me, that will just dominate the opponent, but we can actually win these games in simple, just strategic moves to help blow our opponent's board and draw the cards that we need. So, hand number 2 is Edgem Chains, Toy Vendor, Fluffal Bear, Mobilize Engage, and an Effect Veiler. Now we really, our 6th card, Fluffal Dog. Now we really actually need the Fluffal Wings in our hand because that would give us some really good combos, and we need Fluffal Dog to be that Fluffal Wings so we can actually be able to get off Engage. Now this isn't a problem that's too hard to solve. I think the only option is to summon the Fluffal Dog. Fluffal Dog to search Wings. And we'll just get the Sky Striker Mobilize Engage in a later portion of our combo. I think that would be the best way to do it. And so now we're going to start off by activating the Toy Vendor to send Wings. Oh, sweet, a bear. That's actually exactly what we need to continue off with our combos. Use these 2 monsters for a Link Summon. Oh, they're both Earth and Fairy. That would have been better if they weren't. Use those 2 monsters for a Link Summon, and then we can use Fluffal Wings, banish, draw a card, send to the graveyard, draw a card, effect the search. Ooh, man, this is awesome. And assuming that we effect Veiler the monster on our opponent's side of the field, we can take it with the Widow Anchor. So we get 1 more search. We've already normal summoned. So the search would have to be the Fluffal Penguin. Now, as you guys can see, we kind of don't have a polymerization, but we kind of do inside of the invocation, so we're all right. This deck has a lot of linking up to do. Woo. So I actually need to put Edgem Chain into my graveyard. That would have given me exactly what I needed through Toy Vendor. I have actually a way to search Toy Vendor. So Bear to get Toy Vendor, and then Vendor effect, discarding Chain. There we go. So discard Chain, reveal the, oh, that's even better. And then Chain's effect is going to get me Frightfur Patchwork. And now I'm going to activate Patchwork's effect to add a polymerization and a Frightfur monster. Let's get these sabers this time. And now we're good. We are in really good hands. I'm telling you guys, when I was saying that the Mobilize Engage is really powerful, look how often we can get 3 spell cards into our graveyard. We're going to follow up with Engage. That's going to search the Mecha Hornet drones, and we're going to get the draw card. We're going to draw Fluffal Dog. Okay, that's another card that we can use for fusion summons. Activate the Hornet drones for a 15/15 token. Token for a Link summon. Into our Kagari. Kagari to add Engage. Link these 2 off. I do have cards to spare. Nightmare Unicorn. Actually. Oh, I already got the invoke. Man, every time I draw the one of. If I didn't draw the one of, we would have been a lot better off. I don't think I'll be able to fusion summon twice. And discard a card. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the invocation to get rid of an opponent's card. And then engage again to search the afterburners. And then draw a card. Oh my god, this is just, I really want to play double Widowmaker. I think I'm going to take this out for double Widowmaker, but we could hypothetically use them both right now to get rid of more of our opponent's cards. And then again, our opponent should be in a position where they don't have too many cards on the field. If they do, go for the Frightfur Tiger. If they don't, go for the Fluffal Wolf, or Frightful Wolf, to continue to just win the game. I'm just going to go ahead and go for Wolf, using these 3 cards, so it can attack 3 times. I can draw 2 cards, and then discard a card. Alright, so this is our ending board. Oh, Frightful Wolf that can attack multiple times. Nightmare Unicorn that can attack multiple times. We snatched a card through our Widow Anchor, and we destroyed a card through our Afterburners. We also basically decimated our opponent's hand, and in graveyard we have a Fluffal Wings and a Fluffal Monster, as well as a Tour Vendor to follow up on our next play, which will essentially give us, this would get banished and a Fluffal Monster would get banished. To draw a card, send to a vendor, draw another card, and search a monster from our decks to our hand. That's essentially what our hand would look like next turn if our opponent were to so break it. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Fluffals are really powerful, especially with the Sky Striker Engage engine, and it's a deck that can break your opponent's boards. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day, like I am.